Let's get straight to the point. Every October, millions of you search for the answer to one question. What is the true origin of Halloween? You've been told it's about ghosts, candy, and costumes. That is not the full story. The complete answer, the real history of Halloween, lies in a 3,000-year-old pagan ritual of immense power, a sacred night of fire and fear known as Samhain. And the Celtic secrets behind it are far stranger than you can imagine. Think about the modern Halloween, a global, multi-billion-dollar industry. We buy pre-packaged costumes. We consume mountains of candy. We watch horror movies with predictable scares. It's a safe, commercialized version of fear, a comfortable tradition. But this comfort is a lie. This entire spectacle is a mask, a colorful plastic disguise hiding a face of ancient, primal terror.
In this deep dive documentary, we will tear that mask off. We will decode the forgotten beliefs of the ancient Celts and their terrifying view of the spirit world. You will discover the real, unsettling reason they carved faces into turnips, not pumpkins. We will investigate why the original Halloween costumes were made from animal carcasses to fool the dead. And we will uncover the dark origin of trick-or-treating, a ritual that had nothing to do with candy and everything to do with bribing malevolent spirits. This is the real story of Halloween.
To truly grasp the primal power of Halloween's true origin, we must first cast aside our modern perceptions. Our journey takes us back 3 millennia to an era long before the Roman Empire's vast dominion. Envision a raw, untamed Europe, a colossal tapestry of ancient dense forests where daylight barely penetrated, of undulating green hills perpetually cloaked in mist, and of dramatic, rugged coastlines relentlessly carved by the Atlantic's fury. This was the ancient homeland of the Celts, a formidable people whose legacy shaped the very foundations of Halloween. The Celts were not a single, monolithic nation, but rather a sprawling network of diverse tribes. From the emerald fields of Ireland to the dense forests of Gaul and the distant reaches of Anatolia, they were united by common threads of language, intricate artistic traditions, and a profoundly spiritual worldview. To the Romans, they were often depicted as fierce, barbaric warriors. Yet, behind this external perception lay a sophisticated culture, a society with complex social laws, a rich oral history, and a deep philosophical understanding of their interconnectedness with the cosmos. At the core of the Celtic worldview was a profound sense of animism. The world was not merely an inanimate stage for human drama. It was a living, breathing entity, pulsating with conscious energy and inhabited by myriad spirits. Every ancient oak, every winding river, every weathered megalith was believed to possess its own distinct soul, its own potent, sacred essence. This wasn't merely a quaint belief. It was the fundamental lens through which they interpreted every aspect of their existence, guiding their decisions, their rituals, and their deep reverence for the land. The spiritual custodians of this animistic world were the enigmatic Druids.
Their role extended far beyond that of mere priests. The Druids were the intellectual architects and mystical heart of Celtic society, serving as judges, healers, astronomers, poets, and the living encyclopedias of their people. They memorized vast bodies of law, history, and sacred lore, for it was forbidden to commit this knowledge to writing. Their rigorous training, which could span 2 decades, ensured the purity of an unbroken oral tradition, safeguarding the deepest secrets of the Celtic soul.
For the Celts, time itself was not linear. It was a cyclical journey, intimately tied to the rhythms of the natural world. Their year was dramatically divided into 2 profound halves. The light half, heralded by the vibrant festival of Beltane in spring, symbolized growth, fertility, and the flourishing of life under the benevolent sun. But inevitably, this light half gave way to the dark half, marking the grim onset of winter. Yet this darkness was not an end to be feared, but a necessary transition, a period of introspection, rest, and renewal. The precise night that commanded this critical shift was the most potent, most revered moment of their entire year, the Celtic New Year.
That pivotal night, the moment of profound transition, was known as Samhain. It was not merely a calendar date, it was a liminal point suspended between the old and the new year, a unique moment that belonged to neither and to both. Samhain was the final communal gathering before the harsh, isolating grip of winter truly set in. But its significance ran far deeper. For the Celts, Samhain was the terrifying night when the very fabric of reality thinned and the boundary between the mundane world of the living and the mysterious realm of the dead was believed to grow perilously porous. The veil between worlds would simply dissolve. The Celtic year began in darkness, and at its heart was one core belief that governed all the traditions of Samhain. They believed that on this one night, the veil, the barrier that separated our world from the other world, the realm of gods, spirits, and the dead, became perilously thin. This was not a metaphorical concept. To the Celts, it was a literal, physical reality for one night. A time of immense supernatural energy, a temporal rift. The dead could walk among the living, and the living could accidentally wander into the realm of the spirits. It was a night of both great danger, where one could be lost forever, and profound possibility, a chance to commune with the departed. Not all spirits were feared. The Celts held a deep reverence for their ancestors and believed their spirits would return on Samhain, seeking warmth and kinship. Places were set for them at the feast table. Stories of their deeds were told, and fires were lit to guide them home. This was a time of familial reunion, stretching across the boundary of death itself.
But the Celts also believed the thinning veil allowed other, less benevolent entities to cross over. The ARC, a powerful and unpredictable race of supernatural beings, often translated as fairies or elves, but far more formidable and dangerous than modern tales suggest. These beings could be mischievous or outright hostile, capable of blighting crops, sickening livestock, or even abducting humans. This deep-seated fear led to one of Halloween's most iconic traditions, the costume.
To protect themselves when traveling on Samhain night, the Celts would disguise their human form. They wore masks and cloaks, often fashioned from animal skins and heads, painting their faces with soot from the sacred bonfire. The logic was a form of spiritual camouflage. By appearing as a fellow spirit or a grotesque beast, they hoped to either blend in with the supernatural procession and go unnoticed, or to frighten away any malevolent entity that meant them harm. At the very heart of every Samhain celebration, blazing against the encroaching darkness were the great bonfires. These were not simple campfires. They were immense, sacred pyres lit by the Druid priests on prominent hills, intended to be seen for miles around. Their construction and lighting were a solemn ritual, marking the spiritual center of the community for this one night. These fires served multiple profound purposes. One of the most important rituals involved lighting two separate bonfires side by side. The villagers would then ceremoniously walk and drive their valuable livestock through the gap between the two fires. The smoke and flames were believed to have powerful cleansing properties, purifying them of the old year's misfortunes and protecting them from sickness, both physical and spiritual, during the coming winter. Furthermore, the Great Samhain bonfire was a symbol of communal unity. On the eve of the festival, every household was required to extinguish its own hearth fire, plunging the entire village into darkness. After the main rituals were complete, each family would take a torch lit from the sacred central bonfire back to their own home. Relighting their hearth from this single shared flame symbolized the rekindling of the community's spirit and their shared reliance on one another to survive the dark half of the year.
The logic was one of reciprocity and fear. The offering was a sign of respect, made in the hope that these powerful beings would bless the household, or at the very least, leave them in peace. To neglect the offering was to invite their wrath, a trick in the form of a cursed harvest, sick animals, or worse. The threat of a supernatural trick, if no treat was provided, is the earliest echo of our modern tradition. But there is a second crucial root to this tradition, a later practice from the Christian era known as souling or mumming, which became popular across medieval Britain and Ireland. On All Souls' Day, the poor and often children would go door to door, offering to say prayers for the souls of a household's dead relatives. In return, they would receive soul cakes, small spiced breads. Each cake eaten represented a soul being prayed for, supposedly helping its passage out of purgatory. But Samhain wasn't just about fear and appeasement. Because the veil between worlds was so thin, it was also considered the most potent night of the year for divination, for foretelling the future. The supernatural energies of Samhain could, it was believed, provide fleeting glimpses into the year to come, particularly concerning the crucial matters of marriage,
fortune and death. Many of our modern Halloween party games are, in fact, the fossilized remains of these ancient fortune-telling rituals. Take apple bobbing. For the Celts, the apple, grown on the sacred Isle of Avalon in their myths, was a potent symbol of fertility and immortality. The game was a marriage divination. Young, unmarried people would try to bite an apple floating in a cauldron of water. The first to succeed was believed to be the next to marry.
For centuries, the traditions of Samhain remained a cornerstone of Celtic culture, a vibrant and essential part of their spiritual calendar. But no culture exists in a vacuum. By the 1st century AD, a formidable new power had arrived at the doorstep of the Celtic world: the Roman Empire. As the Roman legions marched north, conquering Gaul and Britain, they brought with them their own gods, their own festivals, and their own way of seeing the world. The Romans had their own festivals that conveniently fell around the same time as Samhain. One was Feralia, a day in late October when they commemorated the passing of the dead. Another was a festival to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees, whose symbol was the apple. This cultural overlap was a key factor in the slow transformation of Samhain. Rather than eradicating the Celtic festival, Roman influence began to merge with it, a process known as syncretism.
Some historians suggest that the Roman festival of Pomona, with its association to apples, may have been the influence that incorporated the apple into Samhain's divination rituals, like apple bobbing. While the Celts already held the apple as sacred, the Roman influence may have solidified its role in the harvest festival. The old ways were not erased, but rather they were given a new layer of meaning, a new context. However, the most significant and transformative force to encounter Samhain was not a conquering army, but a new religion. By the 4th and 5th centuries, Christianity was spreading across Europe, including the former Celtic lands of Ireland and Britain. Early Christian missionaries faced a profound challenge: how to convert a populace whose spiritual beliefs were so deeply intertwined with the cycles of nature and ancient pagan festivals. Initially, the Church attempted to eradicate these pagan traditions, viewing them as demonic and barbaric. The Druids were suppressed, and sacred groves were destroyed. But the beliefs of the people were not so easily extinguished. The traditions of Samhain were too deeply woven into the fabric of their culture to simply be cut away. So the Church adopted a far more effective strategy: co-option. If you can't beat them, absorb them. The Church's strategy was brilliant and systematic. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III made a pivotal move. He officially shifted the date of a major Christian festival, All Saints' Day, a day honoring all recognized saints and martyrs, from May to November 1st. This was no coincidence. The date was chosen specifically to land directly on top of the traditional date of Samhain. The intention was clear: to provide a powerful Christian alternative and to superimpose a new meaning onto the old pagan date. The name of the holiday in Old English was All Hallows Day, as hallow meant saint or holy person. Consequently, the night before it, October 31st, the traditional night of Samhain, came to be known as All Hallows Eve. Over centuries, this name was contracted and slurred together, eventually becoming the word we know today, Halloween.
2 centuries later, the Church added another strategic layer. They established All Souls Day on November 2nd. This was a day specifically for praying for the souls of ordinary departed Christians who were believed to be in purgatory. This masterstroke directly absorbed Samhain's most powerful theme, the interaction with the dead. It provided a Christian framework for a belief that people were unwilling to abandon, redirecting their rituals from appeasing wandering spirits to praying for the salvation of their loved ones.
Despite the Church's efforts, the old ways persisted. Throughout Britain and Ireland, the supernatural elements of Samhain, the bonfires, the costumes, the belief in mischievous spirits and fortune-telling lived on, blended with the new Christian holidays. However, in the devoutly Protestant colonies of early America, Halloween was largely absent, dismissed as a popish or pagan superstition. The tradition would not cross the Atlantic in a meaningful way until the massive wave of immigration in the 19th century. In America, the traditions of these Irish and Scottish emigrants began to mix with those of other groups. The old divination games, ghost stories, and mischief-making became a staple of autumn festivals. One of the most significant changes was purely practical. The Irish tradition involved carving scary faces into turnips or potatoes to ward off spirits. In America, they discovered the native pumpkin, which was larger, softer, and far easier to carve. The iconic jack-o'-lantern was born from this simple adaptation. By the mid-20th century, the final piece of the puzzle fell into place: the commercialization of trick-or-treating. To curb the holiday's growing reputation for pranks and vandalism, communities and candy companies began promoting a safer, more organized alternative. The door-to-door practice, once a solemn request for prayers or a fearful offering to spirits, was transformed into a playful, child-focused demand for sugary treats. The ancient, terrifying night of Samhain had completed its long journey, finally becoming the familiar, commercialized Halloween we know today.
And so, the journey is complete. A 3,000-year-old Celtic ritual, born from a profound respect for the cycles of nature and a deep-seated fear of the supernatural, has journeyed through time. It was reshaped by the Romans, co-opted by the Church, and transported across an ocean by immigrants seeking a new life. In America, it was tamed, commercialized, and ultimately transformed into the playful, familiar holiday we know today. The face of the celebration has changed, but its ancient soul remains. The mask we wear today may be made of plastic, but the primordial instinct to disguise ourselves in the face of the unknown is the same. The light in our jack-o'-lanterns may come from an LED, but the desire to light a fire against the encroaching darkness is eternal.
Halloween is more than just a holiday. It is a living artifact, a testament to our enduring relationship with the seasons, with our ancestors, and with the profound, unsettling mystery of death itself. So the next time you see a costume or carve a pumpkin, remember the ancient echo you are taking part in, the echo of Samhain.
What part of Halloween's true origin surprised you the most? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the past, please consider subscribing to Epic Legends Decoded for more stories that unmask our history. Thank you for watching.